All right, everybody. Well, happy Tuesday. Welcome to our weekly meeting that we've been having for, gosh, it feels like forever, but I think it's only been 4 or 5 weeks now. Um, I am joined today by some of my colleagues from Instructure. We've got Jaron, Josh, Katie, and Dr. Casey Testerman on the line with us today, and a lot of you from all over the Commonwealth. I hope everybody's staying dry and safe. I know that we've got some hurricane activity on the eastern half of the state today, and that may affect our attendance at today's meeting, but hopefully that this blows through. As a native Floridian who is living in South Florida right now, we definitely have experience with that, but I think you guys are getting the worst of it between the Eastern Carolinas and Eastern Virginia. We don't have a huge planned agenda today. There's a couple of updates from our implementations team, from Josh and Jaron. I've got a couple of things that I wanted to show everybody that's on the call today to kind of fix a couple of issues that have bubbled up to the surface over the last couple of weeks. And then we will open it up to the Q&A that we've been having these last handful of weeks, and hopefully get people really cemented into the beginnings of their Canvas implementation. So with that, Josh, do you want to take over and share a little bit about some new processes that you guys have put in place?
Absolutely. Thanks, Dominic. So the largest change, as you guys all know, is now August, believe it or not. Fall start is around the corner for most of you, and some have had teachers back as early as yesterday. So we've had to kind of rearrange some priorities and form some new groups amongst all the divisions. We're calling the priorities, 1 through however many priorities we end up with. But it's basically when your teacher start date is and your student start date is. This shouldn't change anything as far as communication-wise goes. We're still definitely manning the VEVA help mailbox and addressing everybody's questions as they pop up. We just want to let you guys know that if you are starting, this week or next week, you can expect a little more impromptu, a little more proactive one-on-one calls. I've been reaching out to many of you so far as early as yesterday. I have a few more to reach out to today. Make sure that everybody feels comfortable with where they are, and we can get those people starting this week, rolling as quickly as possible. So again, no big changes as far as everybody goes. It's just you might be seeing a little bit more of me. I might be calling your cell phones or your messages in your signature. So yeah, that's all I had to add for that, Dominic.
Thanks, Josh. And we have definitely scoured all of the division websites throughout the Commonwealth to find start dates for everyone, for both teachers and students. If you feel like we have not prioritized you properly, if you've got something starting earlier, if there's been a change, if the school board or superintendent has made any sort of a change to move up or move back your start dates, as lots of divisions are doing, or not just divisions, but districts around the country are still in the midst of making changes, please let us know at vvahelp@instructure.com. I'll drop that in the chat. But having that sort of accurate information is going to allow us to definitely prioritize and make sure that you get access as soon as you need it to be. And of course, we do want everybody to have access as soon as humanly possible. That's just the thing. There's a handful of humans working on this, and we're moving as rapidly as we possibly can.
It's also worth mentioning on that point, Dominic, if you do have to move up ahead and your start date is faster, try to give us your contact information. We don't have everybody's best phone numbers to reach you. So that might be also a thing that would speed that up. So thank you.
Awesome. So one of the issues that has bubbled up recently is that as people are gaining access to Canvas and teachers are bringing in Virtual Virginia materials in from the VVA Commons into their courses, they're running up sometimes against quota issues. And I wanted to show everyone how to address that. So I'm going to share my screen really quickly. As an admin, so this has to be done at the admin level, administrators can go into their admin shield, choose your division's account, and then you're going to come into the settings at the very bottom of the admin navigation area. And then you'll notice these tabs across the top. The second one is quotas. You can set the default quota for your account to whatever you want. I believe it comes defaulted to 500 megabytes. Some people may put it at 5,000. What we've found is that some Virtual Virginia content is even larger than that. We're seeing some packages in the area of 6 or 7 gigabytes. So you may want to increase your default quota to 10,000 megabytes just to ensure that all of the teachers that are bringing in content from Virtual Virginia's repository are not going to be met with a quota error when that comes in. Because if the package coming in from Commons is larger than their course quota, it won't be able to be imported. If you have any current courses that are running up against that, or teachers that are reaching out and saying, hey, I can't bring this in, you can immediately take action by finding their course inside of here, coming in and manually setting that quota for them. We're also in the process of putting together a script that we can deliver that's going to go back and apply that quota retroactively as well, so that you won't have to do it manually. But in the meantime, if somebody does reach out, it may be, I don't know what the courses are that are causing the issues, but you can go ahead and search for them here by course ID number, which of course can be found in the URL, or you can search for it. You can search for it in the admin. So if you happen to have access to the course, you can quickly grab that URL. If you're in their course, by the way, and you're an admin, you can go into the course settings as well and change the file storage here. This is not editable by a teacher or by certain, administrative roles that don't necessarily have this ability, but as an account admin, you could come in one course at a time and fix that for them. But like I said, we do want to solve this globally and not have you have to go in and manually edit too many of these. But if there are some squeaky wheels out there, you have the ability to fix them one-off in the UI. But I would definitely suggest going into your admin panel, clicking into the settings, and updating your default quota to something that's going to make it so that you don't run into these issues when they're bringing in Virtual Virginia materials.
Dominic, I have something to add to that, actually.
Yeah.
We just had Jamie pull a list of courses. Out of 6,000 courses we pulled, about 60 of them even had it over 10,000 megabytes.
Oh, wow.
So it is possible that the highest course we found was 20,000 megabytes. So it's possible. If you still at least an error, we're still recommending 10,000 so we don't slow anything down. But it's possible that a course will have more than that.
All right. So you might run into a course with 20 gigabytes worth of content in it. And if you do, you'll definitely want to fix that on a per course basis. Things only start to bog down if all of your courses actually get filled up with that much content. Hopefully your teachers aren't downloading, the entire Star Wars, 4K version and putting it into a course or something, but 20 gigabytes is a lot of stuff.
To kind of give some context as well, there was 6,500 courses in there. So yeah, there was a good chunk of them that were over the 15 gig limit, but for the most part, 10 gig should be just fine.
Okay, perfect. So 10 will get you most of the way there, and then you can handle those one-offs as they pop up like I showed you. All right, now, Katie, do you want to be the master of ceremonies and take through these questions?
I'm ready to roll. Okay. First of all, Josh, Joe wants to tell you good job. So I'm going to make sure I call that one out. So good job. All right. Marie is asking, can we talk about the firewall settings for Bigbluebutton? Ours seems to be very slow.
I don't know that we have any sort of firewalls. If you can access Bigbluebutton, then you should be fine. There's nothing that should slow down Bigbluebutton other than if you've got many users sharing video or like all at the same time. Send a message to VVA help and we might be able to troubleshoot that on a more local level, but there's not any firewall settings that we could change or apply to open that up. Somebody else is having the same issue, it looks like. So yeah, we can reach out to our friends at Bigbluebutton. That's not an Instructure product. It's a partnership that we have. So we can take a look and speak with them about what's going on with that part of Canvas.
Okay, it looks like the next question from C. Evans is being answered below by Sarah. If that's not correct, we'll go back to it in a second.
Okay.
Maria is saying we have also not been able to access Bigbluebutton. Some teachers believe there's a limit to the number of live sessions they or the district can run at the same time. Is there a limit to the number of simultaneous sessions our schools can run?
So that's a great question, because we do have a banner up when you go to access Bigbluebutton that suggests that there is some sort of a hard limit. There's actually not. When the pandemic occurred and everybody turned to Canvas and sometimes to Bigbluebutton to be able to do virtual or live sessions, Bigbluebutton asked us to partner with them in making sure that we weren't slamming their systems and causing any sort of outages for them. So we put that banner up, but the reality is that you can use as many Bigbluebuttons as you need. It comes with Canvas, but the alternative is that you do have the ability to connect some of your other conferencing tools. So Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Meets all have connections to Canvas that we can make so that you can leverage those as well. So whatever your division might already be using for conferencing, we can connect to Canvas, and it may give a better user experience than what we're finding with Bigbluebutton apparently today. It looks like Jamie asked about that team connection. Yeah, so that's something that, Josh, Jaron, how are you handling getting the LTI for Microsoft Teams turned on for divisions, or Google Meet for that matter?
We are not at this point. That is something that you can be able to actually reach out. There's a pretty easy way to be able to do it through the Google Apps. You can be able to set up the LTI, and it actually provides the key and secret from there. That is something that you as admins have that same ability to be able to run through, same as we would on our end. So just go to the apps and be able to search for that specific LTI, and it should be pretty easy to be able to install from there.
All right, and let's make sure that we send out some communication around that this week as well. Maybe we can point people to the instructions for the Microsoft Teams and the Google Meet installations, because if I remember correctly, the Microsoft Teams ones require like diving into the developer keys and flipping a switch on that, and it's easy to do, but sometimes you just need to know how to do it. So if we can get that out, it'll help. Let's see, what else have we got, Katie?
A lot of these are Virtual Virginia course modules questions, but let me read them, and they may have already been answered below, so we'll kind of see here. We're receiving a message that says the connection was reset when we click on several Virtual Virginia courses and modules. And then another follow-up question that falls in the same category is we just want to talk about importing issues and missing links and things like that. So I'm going to scroll down and see if it's possible that this has been answered, because I'm pretty far behind in the conversation. Does somebody from Virtual Virginia want to have a talk about that? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I'm not sure that this is a Canvas one.
Hi, everybody. This is Sarah Warnick. I'm interested to hear. I've never heard about the reset, so I don't know that I can actually speak to that one, because I have never seen that message before. Can we get a little more information about that, maybe?
Yeah, Robert, if you could send us over more information, that would be helpful for everyone, I think. And then, Sarah, have you already answered below the questions about import issues? Links and things?
And it's probably good to go ahead and jump on the mic to talk about it. So when our infrastructure coordinator and I looked at the import issues, and they appear to be an old link that still exists in the coding to an image file that's not there, but it does not impact the actual functionality of the course, because there is an actual link pointing to the correct image file that's active. So it's just the old link that exists in the coding that's creating some error messages. So I know it's frustrating when you see those issues being reported, but from our tests, everything is functional.
Awesome, thank you. This is a question for us, team. So how do you suggest that teachers move through the Growing with Canvas course through Canvas? My teachers are having issues going through as the teacher of the course because they can't submit the assignments. So the solution to that one would be to enroll them as students. So typically what we see is, the administrator of that course. So if it's you all or somebody on your PD team, is enrolled as the teacher of the course, and then you enroll the teachers as students in the course, not as teachers. So that will solve that. Let's see, how do we create certificates since we do not have the catalog features?
Probably the easiest way to create a certificate, and this is not going to be a certificate that's dynamic and has like an automatic addition of somebody's name on it, would just be to put like a stop page at the end of a module or at the end of a course that has a PDF file that says, you know, certificate of completion. You can design it to have whatever you want, but then use your modules to like lock access so that they have to complete, you know, modules as prerequisites before they get to that final module that has their certificate of completion. And then once they've reached that, they know that, you know, they've scored an 80% or they've completed all of the required activities, and then voila, they have access to a certificate that they could take back to their principal or their PD director to try and get credit for a course or something. Or if we're talking about students for that matter, they could take it to their teacher and let them know that they've completed as well.
Perfect. Is there going to be a dedicated time to discuss parent or guardian account access to Canvas? Does anything from the local district tech need to be set up or configured, or is this a handoff process from their perspective?
This is a Jared question. We can talk individually. Obviously, we are not focused on that as much right now. We're obviously trying to get teachers and students set up before parents. So it's not quite our high priority to be able to get that up and going. But there is not, I believe it was actually through one of these webinars that we showed how to be able to do that pairing code and be able to get that up and connected and running. We can show that process again of how that functions, but that's the best way that I'd recommend how to be able to get them access into it. With a lot of you having the Google SAML set up though, everyone would need to use the Canvas login to be able to go access that same location. Let me share my screen really quick, just kind of show you what that would look like. I believe we talked about this previously, but just kind of something like this, where the discovery page would actually be a self-hosted site that you guys would be hosting yourself, but it basically just redirect to the login/SAML for any of your teachers or students, and then it would basically redirect to the login/Canvas for the parent login. But yeah, that's what we'd recommend. Again, we can have a one-off call about this, but we definitely need to do this more globally, at least at this moment, just because we don't have the capacity to be able to talk about this, and it's not a top priority for us.
Okay, let's see. There were some other questions about courses being pulled in and errors, but it looks like that's all been addressed. So if I'm wrong, feel free to repost your question if I missed that. Do they have to put in a ticket to connect to Google Meets? I think you addressed this, Jaren, but do they need a ticket at all for Google Meets, or is that something that we're going to just kind of send some documentation and they can do?
I'm not familiar with the process, to be totally honest. I'm assuming it's just the same sort of thing with the LTI, where it basically just add a key and secret. With the Google integration, you basically just, there's a button right there to be able to click on it and be able to pull the key and secret. I can check on that in 2 minutes though, so we'll get back on that one.
We have our community, we have a good community documentation on our installing Google Meets. I can send that out to people who ask for it. So if you want to reach out to vvahelp@instructure.com, I can forward that to you and you have all the information you need.
Perfect. Okay, then the question came in about Bigbluebutton Premium. So the question was, do we need to purchase premium licenses? The answer to that is no, you don't need to purchase premium licenses for them to access it. If you want to use it like a premium product and you want to save the recordings for a long time, or you want to make sure that you're using it as your main, if you're using it as your main conferencing solution, and that is all you're using for distance learning, I would suggest looking into either using something you're already using, like Dominic suggested, of using Google Meet or using Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and we can integrate, one of those solutions. But if you're just using it as a solution in your day-to-day activities in your district, no, you don't need to purchase additional licensing.
And we should
Dominic, you want to say something on that?
Yeah, the only limitations to what comes with Canvas versus the premium product. The version of Bigbluebutton that comes with Canvas, that's included in the price of Canvas, gives you all of the tools that that you would expect out of Bigbluebutton. So you've got the ability to share your screen, there's some whiteboarding, there's chat, all of that. The only difference is with the free version, the recordings only last for 14 days. So if you need a more permanent recording, you could use a different tool, or you could have the Bigbluebutton Premium. And with the premium version, you can generate an external facing URL. So if you wanted to invite in an outside expert to come in and present to the class or something, with the version that comes with Canvas, it's limited only to people that are rostered into the course. With the premium version of Bigbluebutton, you'd be able to spin up a unique URL and send it to somebody so that they could join. But beyond that, the functionality is going to be 100% the same, and there's no bandwidth or data caps or anything with Bigbluebutton, the version that comes with Canvas. So feel free to use that, but just understand that the limitations there are the length of the time that the recordings are housed for the most part, and then that external URL.
Okay, the next question is kind of, it's related to cross-listing. Can teachers link one of their courses with the other courses that have been created by the PowerSchool Sync? For example, can an elementary teacher link all of their individual courses, math, reading, etc., to their homeroom course so that our younger students will only have to go to one course?
Yeah, that is definitely possible to be able to do. Trying to think of any kind of problems that would cause. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But yeah, there would basically just be the same students enrolled multiple times within the same course, which shouldn't be a problem. So you can be
The only problem I could foresee there, Jaron, would be when we get grade passback working, if you have them cross-listed, that's going to be an issue, no?
No, we're connecting to the section SysID specifically rather than the course SysID, so that's not a concern at all.
Okay, but if they create an assignment in a cross-listed course, Canvas knows which section to send that assignment to?
Right, so I mean, we're kind of talking about something that's not existing at this point. Previously, it was fine. So I can't really give you definitives across the board on that one right now.
The other solution that I would suggest, if we're worried about having multiple courses for our students, for our younger students to log into, is just don't publish the courses that you don't want your kids to see. If you're only going to operate out of a homeroom course, just let that be the only one that you publish. Leave every other course that's rostered unpublished, and then students will only see the one that you want them to see.
Okay. Our single sign-on will not work. Staff emails are not being imported into our system for teacher accounts. I don't know if that was related to something else we were talking about earlier, if this is something that needs a ticket. If you want to expand on that one, I'll come back to it. Or if somebody on the call already knows what this one's about, feel free to jump in and interrupt me. Once a teacher has published a course, does that initiate an email invite, or do teachers have to invite the students already enrolled into the course?
There's no emails that come out once the course is published. It's just once a student logs into Canvas, they're going to see the courses that have been published and that they're enrolled in.
Google Meet isn't an app that we can see in the admin settings. I think we're going to send out, so Josh, your direction was they can put in an email to the Virtual Virginia Help email, and then you'll send out directions on that. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm pulling up the documentation now.
Awesome. Okay.
I can walk
the Google Apps.
I'll walk you through very, very quickly. This applies to both Google Teams meetings and Google Meet. So you go into your admin settings, if you're an admin, and go into developer keys. Then you've got to click on inherited. You scroll, scroll, scroll until you see, and you may have to show all, by the way, but like you'll see here, Google Hangouts Meet LTI. You need to toggle that on, and you also need to copy this number, this detail number. Once you've got that number copied, you can then add it as an app, because as you've noted already, it's not an app that's just like listed in the app list. You come in and manage or view app configurations, hit plus app, and then you're going to choose by client ID, and then just drop that number in that you already copied from the other screen, and then it will install the Google Meets LTI for you so that you can access it that way. It's a few steps, but it actually makes it easier in the long run for you. But we'll get those instructions sent out to you. But that's why you wouldn't see it in the in the App Center itself. And it's the same process for the Microsoft Teams meeting, by the way.
Perfect. Thanks, Dominic. Let's see. There was some talk about EPUBs, but it looks like Sarah responded to that. So if that still needs to be addressed, let me know. And then there was a question about the biology and anatomy content that was answered. What are the options for audio on quiz questions, such as text to speech?
Well, you can record yourself as far as wanting to include audio. The Canvas quizzes is accessible. And so if you have a student that needs a speech or whatever, some sort of a text-to-speech plugin or software that's running on the computer, it should work fine with both original quizzes and new quizzes. But if you wanted to have everybody have access to some sort of a pre-recorded audio, you can have that in there with the quiz questions, which also works great for like music teachers that want to share music and maybe identify who's the composer of this, or language teachers that foreign language teachers that may want to speak something in the foreign language and then have the students interpret it. There's lots of use cases around that uploading of audio into quiz questions.
Okay. For final grades at the end, do we need to do something special to get grades posted, or does Canvas automatically do this? And does Canvas have a delay on updating?
I don't have a solid answer for the most part with this one, just because we're still looking at the grade pass back functionality. So I think until then, there's definitely a final report that can be pulled from each Canvas instance to be able to see that final grade. But yeah, really depending on what kind of sys integration you have. We're still working on the PowerSchool one at this point. I don't have a solid answer, unfortunately, for that one.
I've been viewing the courses in the demo for outreach student login. Now I have access to Commons on the Highland instance. I'm not seeing the same type of courses. For example, looking at demo grade 2 learning modules that includes math, reading, science, I'm not finding anything similar on the Commons in the Highland instance. That might be a Sarah question. I'm not sure.
Let me go back up. I know I put this into, it was about accessing content, and it needs to be done once you have your instance fully populated. You can bring content in from the consortium, but it will need to be imported into course shells, and that's how you'll see it. So it is, if you had through the Virtual Virginia instance through the bulk upload and you had some sandbox courses there, it's actually completely separate from there, and the content won't go from one to the other. But in your new instance, you'll be able to import content. So I hope that helps. We have a couple of videos on the FAQ page for Virtual Virginia for outreach, and it shows some videos, one for importing directly from the Virginia Public Schools Consortium, and then another for searching for and importing general content from the Commons, because there is so much out there. I hope that helps.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like some of you guys have been responding to each other, so I'm kind of scrolling through. The next one looks like we pulled in the Google app at the admin level, but the Google app icon is not showing up on the rich text editor. Through Canvas support, they suggested uninstalling Google Apps and then reinstalling. Is anyone else seeing this? So I think this is just a plea to all of you to ask if you're seeing the same thing or if that's a one-off.
Well, it's also important to know that the Google Assignments LTI is not the same thing as the Google Meet app. They are two separate things. And so if you're looking to add Google Docs, that wouldn't show up necessarily in the rich content editor, but if you're looking to add a Google Meet, you've got to turn on Google Meet.
I haven't played around with Bigbluebutton. Does it allow breakout rooms?
It does indeed. Do you want me to demo that?
I do.
Okay, since you asked. All right, so if you're in a course and you're the teacher, let's just jump into the ever popular Growing with Canvas course. You'll notice conferences on the left-hand side in the navigation. It's hidden from students right now, but that's okay. I can set this up without students seeing it. I would come in and hit plus conference. You can name it whatever you like. We can have a duration if you want, or I can make it no time limit. If we do anticipate recording this, we can click that button as well. And then one of the nice things is whether or not we want to add everybody in the course to this conference, or maybe this is going to be a small group. You know, maybe I want to pull students that are struggling in a particular area and just have them be available. Only the people that we enroll in this conference are going to see it in their conference's menu. So I'll go ahead and hit update. I'm going to start this conference and you'll see Bigbluebutton pop up. I'm going to do listen only since you guys have got my microphone right now.
The only person in this conference.
And just to give you a quick tour of Bigbluebutton, since maybe not everybody is familiar, you do get this big white screen, this whiteboarding where you can slide, you can either upload PowerPoints, you can upload a video, or you can just use it as a blank whiteboard. You've got some whiteboarding tools built into here, so you can, especially if you've got an iPad or something, this becomes easier to use. We can allow our students to come in and whiteboard with us by turning on multi-whiteboarding. We can hide this and we can share our webcam or share our screens as well, if that makes sense. Let's see if that picks me up. I always love the picture-in-picture of this. Here it comes. And so you can get that, that nice grid effect as well. In addition, since you specifically asked about breakout rooms, if you click on the little cog here by users, we can come down and create breakout rooms, as many as you like, well, as long as that number is anywhere between 2 and 8. We can create breakout rooms, and then you'd have all of these users that are in the conference here in this first box, and you can drag them to which rooms that you want. You can allow them to choose their own breakout room, or we can randomly assign people to breakout rooms. So it's a nice breakout room feature. Once you create that, this duration, if you delete the duration, by the way, it becomes an unlimited and you'd have to go in and close out all the breakout rooms. But if we want to give everybody 5 minutes to go in and to the breakout rooms and have their conversations and then come back, we can set that up right from the beginning. The other piece I like to show off is that this does give you the ability to go in and lock your viewers or students from being able to share their webcam or their microphone, or maybe you don't want them sending private chat messages to each other. They're going to make fun of your glasses or whatever. We can turn that off so that they can't do that, as well as any of these other features that you see. So it's a nice tool to allow for these kind of virtual sessions to happen. You know, you'll definitely notice that we've got these little messages in here that recordings are only available for 14 days. If you need permanent, contact, you know, me or Katie, your Canvas representative, to purchase the Bigbluebutton Premium. But my suggestion would be use the free version that comes with Canvas, and then if you need any long-term recordings, to use something like Meet, Teams, Zoom. That way you're not needing to pay for an additional recording tool on top of what you already have access to.
Okay, it sounds like for some people, the Google icon in the editor is missing, but not really. When they hover over it, it's like a ghost icon and there's a blank spot and they click on it and their drive pops up. So I think that's just something for us to maybe look at, is that we're having an icon that's fading in and out of there. So Jaren and Josh, do you want a ticket for that, or what's the best way for them to address that?
It's a support item in my mind. I don't know what to look at to be able to fix
have
that.
them
So
send
just
in a
put in a
ticket.
support ticket.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. All right. Can we give a date for a new PowerSchool API to be deployed so that we can have gradebook passback?
I zoned out when I should not have.
What's that, Jaren?
What was that question again?
They're
I'm missing
asking
it.
about if we have any expected date for new PowerSchool API to be deployed so that they can have gradebook passback. I think I know the answer, but I'm not the most up to date on any of this, so I don't know. I don't think I should give an answer.
Not at this point, unfortunately.
We don't have any date, right?
Not at all.
All right. They would just like documentation. If we could throw it in the chat for cross-listing. Somebody may have already done that. I'm 45 messages up, so if somebody already did that, great. But if not, let me know. All right. That was just a response to everyone. Okay, if we have single sign-on for staff, will it work the same way for students? Do students use the same URL as staff for single sign-on?
Totally depends on your setup. If you've got the same Google database with all of the staff and the students in the same one, then yeah, they would be able to use that same single sign-on. A lot of divisions have that same setup. Some of them have multiple ones. Some of them have multiple domains in there. There's the ability to strip the domain for a number of these as well. That might be something else that's possible. But as long as they're set up in the same Google domain, it should function properly for both student and staff.
Okay, do we have access to turn on Epub now? Anyone?
Sarah, that seems like more of your type question if you want to address that in general.
I am more on the curriculum side, but I will check. I know this is something that our infrastructure coordinator was looking into, whether EPUB and HTML could be turned on simultaneously. And I believe until yesterday, he was under the impression that they could not. So we are working on turning that on.
Thank you.
But I would say within a day, for those of you who want to know.
Okay, there's an issue with our teacher import in Kimono. It is not pulling data from the correct field in PowerSchool. No emails, which would be in the log. I'm not sure. There's a little bit of typo there, so it's causing me to kind of miss some of this. Are coming in for staff. They're coming in for students. Although the staff SysID does not appear to be correct.
Hey Beth, I just shot you an email right before this meeting.
Okay.
Working on fixing it now.
Okay, thanks. All right. Is there a way to translate teacher created or entered content from English into Spanish or another language? I know you can change the language in the course settings, but that seems to be more for the course navigation labels, course menu, etc.
We don't have a built-in translation feature in Canvas. The Microsoft Immersive Reader does have a built-in translation engine that you could leverage, but what we normally see folks doing is taking the content that they need translated and either going for a human translation with somebody in district or leveraging something like a Google Translate to be able to make a copy of content in a different language.
Do we have access to add an app using client ID? I'm not seeing that in the addition of a new app.
Lucy, you should at the admin level. I don't think at the course level adding an app works with the client ID, but if you're in as an administrator and trying to add an app to the entire account, you should be able to add it. I'm double checking now. Actually, I'm looking at it at a course as well. I don't, Jaren, are you aware, is there a feature flag that would allow them to install apps using the client ID that maybe we've missed?
Nothing that I'm aware of. I'm going to go act as you, specifically Lucy, to be able to see if you have that same ability or if you should have that. But that's my best insight right now.
Okay. When we pull in the K-5 courses that are available in segments, how will we import the additional content as they become available, since the courses will be live? And I think this is for virtual Virginia. If this is for Canvas, please let me know. Will you provide a video on how we import these courses? Because I think we could provide a generic video, but maybe there's some way that Virtual Virginia wants this imported or has a method that they've used in the past. I just want to make sure before I give a generic answer.
We haven't. This is kind of uncharted territory for us. So we are trying to make the content available as quickly as we can, which is why it's coming in phases. So there are a couple different ways to do it. You could have a blueprint course at the admin level and associate different courses, all of your grade 1 teachers with the grade 1 blueprint. When content is brought into that blueprint and then shared out, that would make it available without overriding any teacher changes. If teachers are bringing in content directly into the shell and they're the ones bringing it in rather than that being done at the blueprint level, then what we would recommend is making a duplicate page of any pages that or anything that a teacher wants to edit, and then using that duplicate page for, say, a duplicate home page and making that the front page, so that any customization, any videos that they put up there, any pictures, that wouldn't be overwritten. So there are a couple different ways to do it. It's just how you all decide which path you all want to go, if you want to allow teachers to manage it or if you want to manage it more at an administration level.
Perfect. Thanks, Sarah. And I saw yours too late. I didn't read your answer that you typed in there because I didn't see it until after I read the question. Sorry about that. Let's see.
So for the app creation, it's actually by client ID, not by deployment ID. So if you choose from the drop down by client ID, that's actually what you utilize from the developer key ID, if that's not confusing enough.
Okay.
That's back to Lucy's question.
Okay. When increasing the quotas for teachers to import course files, are there any downsides to making it 2 to 3 gigabytes?
The only downside would be if you're trying to import a course package from Virtual Virginia that's bigger than 2 to 3 gigabytes.
Yeah. We recommend 10 gigabytes.
Is there a recommended best practice approach for providing access to substitutes? Or can I just assume that since we are Google SAML, that any user needs to have a Division Google account, and then we need to have any user, sub or otherwise, a Division account to authorize and sign in?
It's my question to people about substitutes, because I wrestled with this when I was implementing Canvas in Broward County, Florida, was what would you expect a substitute teacher to be able to do? You really have to have that vision first. Long-term subs, typically we would suggest that they need to have the same sort of abilities as a teacher, because they're going to go in and they're going to need to create curriculum and grade things. Short-term subs probably don't need to have access to Canvas, because the students will continue to have access to Canvas even when the teacher's out. So if the teacher puts instructions in Canvas, maybe the sub just needs to get a printout of what those instructions are, or in virtual land, just needs a PDF file sent to them. Because you're right, unless your subs are in your authentication method, it's going to be difficult for them to get into Canvas. And most people aren't automating substitute teachers via their student information system that would, drop them into courses. And so that it would be a very manual process. So just think through what you want your subs to be able to do, and then we can get creative with how you would be able to build that access in for them.
Perfect. And I scrolled back up and found a question that I missed. Can we download the Bigbluebutton files? And I think that's a question about the free version and whether or not they can download Bigbluebutton files. I'm sure it was asked when you were demoing and I missed it.
Yeah, the free version, the files are not downloadable, but with the paid version, they are.
Okay, let's see, we hit that one. Oh, this is good news if you're not watching the chat. The Read Speaker app will translate content on the page and it's available to everyone. So that's nice that you guys have that. Google translators are not always reliable.
Totally agree on that.
Yep. I think, Jaron, you addressed Lucy's admin feature thing, but maybe not. So just Jaron, FYI, that looks like it was called out to you on there. If the Epub option is grayed out in the admin settings, does that mean there is another setting that we need to switch to be able to turn on the ability to allow Epub downloading? We want to test our own content and not Virtual Virginia content.
Right now, Jaron, do you want to speak to how that feature flag is actually coming from the Virtual Virginia instance?
So every division is actually set up as part of a full consortium, which gives us Virtual Virginia ability to go access all the different accounts as well. So kind of there's some nice benefits related to that. We have discovered that basically all of those account settings and feature options, or at least the feature options, get set on the Virtual Virginia level and come down. We are trying to work on fixing that so it's not all related to that, where you each would have the ability to choose it on your own. So the EPUB and the HTML settings actually come from Virtual Virginia specifically. That's the only real update that I have on that.
But we are looking for a solution to enable independent divisions to make that decision on their own.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the next was just tips from Sarah, like good best practices. Is the course content in Virtual Virginia outreach? Oh, Sarah's answering that. Sorry, Sarah. I can't keep up with you. You're faster than me. Okay, I've added a staff member as an admin. They don't have any other account since they don't have courses and students. They're getting a message stating Canvas has an account have an account for user, and then whatever their name is. So the answer to that one is I had to solve this the other day because I haven't had to add admins for a while. So Jaren and Josh and Dominic, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but go into people first, add them under people, and then go add them as an admin after, and that should solve your problem. It solved my problem. Gentlemen, if that was incorrect, let me know. But I just did it yesterday to myself. Okay. They're still looking for the link to the cross-listing documentation. If somebody could throw that in there from the guides, that would be helpful. Let's see.
Here's the link to the general guides for everyone. When I was first implementing Canvas, these were my best friend. I was in there often. You can absolutely from there just search for cross-listing. I mean, sometimes it's helpful because you don't know that we call this cross-listing, right? So how would you know to search for it? But there's the guide to cross-listing as well. But yeah, there are some specific Canvas vocabulary that once you understand it, the guides become even more powerful.
Awesome. And then just something to call out that Sarah posted, that things that you guys pay for as divisions like Discovery Ed, Learn 360, or your own subscriptions, whether the state is paying for them or not, those aren't available in the courses, but that's why she's recommending that you allow them to edit the courses to incorporate any locally available resources that your teachers have. And I'm going to scroll back up and look, but feel free to add. I'm seeing that I made it to the bottom, which I'm very impressed. But I'm going to scroll back up and see if I missed questions. So if I missed your question, I'm going back to check, but feel free to keep adding them. And if anyone wants to grab the microphone, you can do that. We're not the only ones that are allowed.
Casey, did you want to formally introduce yourself? I know we've had some opportunities for you to meet folks, but being that you're now fully in it with the project, you can let these people know who you are, what's your role, and what they can expect out of your office.
Sure, thanks. I am still in the midst of the storm, so if I lose power, that's where I went, I promise. So I'm Casey Testerman, and I will be your principal learning consultant. We had 2 out of our 6 kickoff meetings today. We will have one more today at 3 o'clock, and then there are 2 tomorrow, 9:30 and 3 o'clock as well. I sent invites. If you are wondering what I'm talking about, then you didn't get an invite. Let me know. You can shoot me an email, kc.testerman@instructure.com, or you can check with someone else in your division. They may be the person who came instead. And if you want to be added, just let me know. So we are doing our kickoff for this week, and we will start with vision next week. But we have provided thanks Katie, we have provided a checklist, and we will have a project management spreadsheet as well that will give you data to track as we go through the weeks together. So I'm pretty excited, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thanks, Dominic.
Awesome.
Thank you. One of the ones that I missed, thanks Marie, did I talk about how to change default conferencing from Bigbluebutton? So you're saying when you go into conferences, that's all one word, and you click on Canvas conferences, can that be changed? And the answer to that, I believe, is no. There may be a way to hide that if you don't want anyone accessing Bigbluebutton, but I'm going to let the technical team on the call answer that question because I probably shouldn't have. So go ahead, gentlemen.
I don't think I know the answer to that one, unfortunately.
Okay.
Whether we have to look it up.
Okay, we'll look it up and see. I know that the way I've seen it done might be not something that was supposed to be done, and maybe it was like a hack where somebody hid that button, but generally it's a teaching thing, right? It's training your staff and your PD on what you want them to use, and that's how we usually address it. It's there as a resource, people can use it, but there's no way to change where conferences right now links out to your Zoom or your Meet or something else. There may be a way to hide it. That's what they'll check on right now. But generally that's something that you work with your staff on, training them on what conferencing tool is authorized in your division and what you want them to use through PD. And Sarah answered the other question. Thank you, Sarah. And the question was about, can you delete things? Can you delete them? Can you undelete things once you've deleted them? So when you accidentally one day wake up in the morning and decide that, you want to delete your entire division's Canvas, can we get that back? And the answer is yes. Yes, we can.
I can give you a quick screen share on how, well, I always like to say that we make it a few clicks to delete a course, right? I'll just show you, for instance. We'll go back to Growing with Canvas, and I need to go into my course settings. I need to click delete. We give you some verbiage that says, you know, this might be a bad idea. You might just conclude the course or change the end date, but you'd have to then decide you wanted to delete it, like fully delete it. If you knew the course ID number, this 125 that's in the URL, and you like realized that that was the course that you needed restored, admins have the ability to come back into the admin panel and come into admin tools. And you would type that 125, and it's not deleted, so it's not allowing me to undelete it, but you know, you can absolutely restore that course back to its original glory. It does delete all of the users. You'd have to add the teacher user back in order for them to regain access to the course. If you don't know what the course ID was, there is a report in settings for recently deleted courses. You would just say, you know, hey, in spring 2019, let's run this report. We can download and see all of the recently deleted courses, and hopefully you'd be able to find the course that you were looking for to undelete at that point. But nothing ever truly goes away in Canvas, but you know, we would suggest maybe checking your permissions and make sure that your teachers don't have the ability to delete courses necessarily, that especially the SIS created courses. You don't want them just going in and deleting those willy-nilly.
Okay, and Dominic, while you were talking, Sarah came in with an exciting update that Epub is now turned on as an option.
How do you like that?
Voila, magic.
I did see a question Robert asked about separating sections. So and he gives an example of, you might have a course like Intro to Plants that's got 2 sections. The teacher actually doesn't want to manage them as one course. He wants to manage them as 2 separate sections. The same way that you can cross list, you can decross list, and you could split those out into 2 separate courses. So we give you some flexibility there with how you may want to manage those.
Good catch on that one, Dominic. I missed it completely. All right. I think we have hit all of the questions.
I'm getting warm fuzzies from Carissa with thanking us for our hard work. Really, it's Josh and Jaren have been the tip of the spear in making sure all of this is happening, and we're happy to support them with this weekly Tuesday communications, but I know that they've even added on to that with their Monday and Fridays as well. So it's been a very big team effort to try and meet the needs of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Lucy asked for instructions on decross listing. I'm going to see if I can find them.
Would you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, would you mind just screen sharing using, did you already do the screen sharing using the guides? I might have been reading questions just so they know how to do that, because that way they're not waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's the decross listing guide, and I will screen share and show you how to access these. Absolutely. So from within Canvas, you've got your help button. We hope that folks have started taking advantage of the training services portal. We went over that last week, so check out that recording. More and more of you are starting to get access to your Canvas Tier 1 support, that telephone number and chat that you're able to just reach out to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, yes, including Christmas morning. We'll answer your questions there. But if you don't feel like talking to somebody, like I never feel like talking to somebody, despite the fact that I'm in the business of talking to people for a living, you can go in and search the Canvas guides. And so this takes you right into the guides where you can come in and either search if you know what you're looking for, or you can dive right into the guides. And this is how I learned, because I didn't know what I was looking for initially. I came into these admin guides and I just was like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of things for me to learn. But I would go through one by one by one and read through the guides and learn all I could about a particular thing. And so courses and sections, we've got cross-listing and decross-listing instructions right here under courses and sections. External apps, how do we add them by a client ID? That was a question that came up, right? We've got that, the guides right here for you. So hopefully these can become somewhere where you learn and become self-sufficient. Not that we're not happy to help, but sometimes you just need an answer right away. And this is probably the fastest way to get it is to come into these guides. So, they're here for you. I mean, I'm not going to brag, but these are a differentiator. Our guides are fantastic, well documented, up to date. Every time we come out with an update, the corresponding guide is updated as well, so that you're never looking at a guide that's out of date compared to what's going on with Canvas. So I can't say enough good things about the guides. In addition to all of the text-based guides, we've got video guides in here. So if you wanted to share these videos, we've got guides for students. Maybe you want to send out a Canvas overview to all of the students. Maybe you want to send your parents a link to the Canvas Parent App Guide. All of these videos are available for you to share freely. They're publicly available. You don't have to have a Canvas account to see any of these. So tons and tons of resources in here to support the work that you're doing.
Thanks, Dominic. Sorry I put you on the spot there, but I thought that would be useful. And it looks like the answer to live chat was already given.
Dominic,
and people are already using it.
Something there that I really appreciate. So we did set up the Monday and Friday webinars, the open doors, as like large scale webinars like this. Due to that fact, the Zoom link changed. So if you were looking at Zoom links from last week's like Tuesday meeting or the week before that, the invite that your project leads received are the most updated Zoom links. We're gonna like resend those out before Fridays. There was some confusion yesterday where people were joining the old links, didn't see that the links had been updated, and that's my bad for not highlighting that and making sure everyone knew. But yeah, just wanted to throw that out there so everyone can show up on Friday.
Perfect. And you guys are going to find the guides as the leaders in your district to be great for you to have links to just send out to people when they ask you a question that has step-by-step. So I just think that's something that you guys are really going to enjoy because it has the pictures on there too, the screenshots. So, all right, we have 3 more minutes. So if we have anything else, we can definitely address that. Anyone out there with a burning question?
I'll ask our team, what's the update on tier 1 support, so that B. Hausler asks about the live chat. I'm just curious, does everybody have access to that yet, or are we in process?
Not everybody just yet. We are in process. Jaron is adding field admins every week. He's able, it's a time consuming process, so we're able to get maybe 20 to 30 divisions up per week. We started last week, so hopefully there'll be a whole other batch this week that get their tier 1 access. We can probably get most of them done in the next 2-3 weeks, I would say, right, Jaron? Just number wise. Yeah.
Making it happen.
We're making it happen, one field admin at a time. But yeah, everyone should have their tier 1 set up in these upcoming weeks.
Fantastic, and that's going to be a big help for folks as they dive into this. I know from experience, teachers, district administrators, you never know when they're working on things, trust me. And if they run into a problem, to be able to pick up the phone or dial into the chat and say, hey, I went to this training, I cannot remember how to deploy a discussion. Those chats and phone call support is going to be really key for them. And it's going to free up their support as well as ours from this team. Let's leverage the support team that we have. And so the faster we get that up, everybody's going to be rocking and rolling, and we're going to have some really happy campers in the Commonwealth. Well, coming to the end here, there's lots of appreciation today. So I feel like we must have come further than last week. It seemed like more frustration last week than this week. So we're really thankful that you guys have spent time with us these weeks as we go. It will get better and better. You're learning more and more about Canvas. We're learning more and more about you, so we're better able to support you. If you're on the east side of the state, well, really, this hurricane's pretty big. Wherever you are in the Commonwealth, stay dry, stay safe. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody.